Rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I apologize for being a few minutes late. We did have an executive session to go over bus contracts, which we'll be discussing later on. Any comments and statements from the public before we get going? Okay. Update into the informational agenda on the May enrollment.
If you take a look at May, we're about 95% daily attendance, which is where you want to be for MCAS, for the, what do they call it? The AYP, Adequate Yearly Progress, so I don't think we'll have an issue there. We're still at about 1820 in terms of kids. So year to year, we've lost about 60 kids. Most of that through a big class that graduated last year, a smaller class of kindergarten that came this year. However, I think those numbers are going to change again because we have a very large kindergarten class registered, and hopefully that'll keep us going. We do have a small pre-K class, so it's kind of 6.5 one way or the other. As you can see, the free and reduced enrollment has gone up slightly, but we're still under 25%. So unfortunately, when they look at grants for need, they usually look at things way over 50%, 50 to 60% usually the break point. So we're nowhere near that, but we do see that there are some more people taking advantage of the free and reduced lunch.
No, I notice again that freshman class is always hovering at the 90%. Same thing with the last one that we looked at. I can understand the grade 12; those kids are just probably senioritis, but no, I don't understand it. But that's what they're doing. But I'm wondering if that particular class is one that has sort of shown a trend. I'd be curious to see what they do next year, if it's something to do with the freshman grade or if it's this particular group of kids. I mean, the others are in 95, 96, 97. Right. High school is lower. So, I mean, I would question those freshmen and curious to see if there's something we can do next year to either track and see if they're doing any better, or if there's something we can do to maybe improve their attendance, because they were in the 90%-ish last time we looked at this too. Go ahead, Eric.
Dr. Colley, does this tabulate into the factors that kids might be out sick? Like if we have, that freshman class could have one or two students that were very sick and out for a long amount of time, that could be an answer.
That's right. There was one that Mrs.
We have had several of those longer periods of time than we've had in other years. And it's surprising because I know we had a middle school one as well, and if I'm looking at the right, but the class as a whole, still in the middle school, did very well. So sometimes, yes, it has an effect. So if all the classes, the whole class in general doesn't have as good attendance, but then you have one or two kids who are out for 2-3 months, even though it's excused, because it's a medical thing, it still counts against us in terms of attendance.
Are you able to report it to the state that way, that there was one, like say 2 kids were out for 4 months?
I don't think they give us a break on that. It is what it is. And there isn't anything that you can say to them, because they're not asking down at the individual student level data. They're asking for data in whole, for the whole building. They don't even ask per grade. It is more internal for us to keep track of that.
Okay.
Anybody else?
But I'll make sure for next year we keep track of that.
I'm just curious. I think that's...
And we'll have a change in the schedule, so it'll be one of those chicken or the egg. Is it the schedule? Is it the kids? But if we still see a trend in 9th grade, we'll talk about how to address that.
Okay. No other comments? Okay. On to the school improvement plan drafts.
Before we start that, just to make a comment of why they're drafts, if you remember last year, we started to ask the principals to work off of the district improvement plan, those goals that are big overarching goals, and then try to put in what happens at the building level. However, one of the things we've discovered year to year is that we always make the plans in the spring, and we then have to change them anyway in the fall once we get the information from the MCAS. And we usually take a look at that information in the summer anyway during the administrative retreat. So we decided we'd bring you a draft, more or less how we did this year with the goals that we had, some of the preliminary goals that we have in mind for next year, and we'll bring this back in the fall once we have the MCAS data and we've gone through the summer administrative retreat to bring before you a school improvement plan for next year, for the next school year.
As Dr. Colley said, we were asked to look at what we've done this year and then make a plan for next year. Karen Antonelli and Julia Picetto are English Language Arts and Math coordinators, and I met with both school councils and then met with them together as one, as we talked about earlier in the year. We chose to do two councils, but write one plan with it being the same administrative staff in both buildings. So within the area of assessment, our goal had been to research, develop, and utilize appropriate common assessments for each standard at each grade level at a 40% completion rate. And in looking at all the work that we have done this year, we realized that we actually did that at an 80% completion rate. So we're very pleased with that. But then to just keep us kind of going, now we have to reconfigure all of the assessments so that they align with the new Common Core standards. So if the work keeps going, we did 80%, but now we need to reconfigure. Within the area of curriculum, we were looking to develop a vision of excellence as it pertains to student performance in specific grade levels and competency in targeted areas. We did curriculum mapping in English Language Arts and Math at each grade level using the Common Core standards. And next year we'll continue to develop the units of instruction based on that mapping. And the goal is for there to be another unit of instruction done both in English Language Arts and Math. That's done in curriculum institutes over the summer, as well as grade level meetings throughout the year with our assistant superintendent, as well as the ELA and math coordinators. For instruction, the goal was to develop a tiered instruction system as it related to our competency areas. And we have identified tier 1, 2, and 3 for English Language Arts and Math. That is actually finishing up this week and into next week as the teachers finish one task and begin another. So they send the children home for the summer, but then are getting together to continue working on that tier. Next year and through the summer, what our goal is to really modify the schedule so that we can allow longer blocks for instruction, so that each grade level will be doing ELA at the same time. Each grade level will be doing math at the same time. That way we can put in an intervention block and really, really narrow down exactly what skills the kids are going to need, as well as giving teachers that longer chunk of time. It also will enable us to put our staff, our Title I staff, in one grade level at a time, and everybody's doing the same thing at that time, so we'll be able to provide smaller groups. So that covers the achievement area. Within school climate, the goal was to provide a healthy, safe, and structured environment that's essential for learning for all students. This year, we have implemented both responsive classroom as well as the anti-bullying policy. The goal for us for next year will be to continue to train staff that is not trained already in Responsive Classroom 1, and to train staff that is interested, that attended Responsive Classroom 1 last summer, for them to be part of Responsive Classroom 2 this summer. Under collaboration and partnerships, we're looking to establish one additional partnership in each building and create an inventory of current partnerships. The partnership was created with Council on Aging. I actually had a teacher that came to me today and wanted to use one of our other newly formed relationship with the Education Foundation, and she's looking to write a grant for next year that is for the Education Foundation, but with the Council on Aging, and doing a reading program with that next year. So that continues as well. And we have quite a few new programs that we will be able to do next year, targeting kids that are at or above grade level from the Education Foundation. Of course, the Music Boosters and the Westmac PTO are always very, very supportive of us. With Westmac PTO, we're actually furnishing our 3rd grade classrooms with smart boards this year, so we're very fortunate for that partnership as well. Within personal growth and student organizations, the goal was to establish a student organization. That was done at the Macomber School, and it will be done first thing at the beginning of the year at the elementary school next year, with the goal of children having a say in the activities that happen, and if they collect food for the Council on Aging or blankets and dog food for an animal shelter, what spirit days happen, just so kids kind of have a little bit more say of what goes on in the school. And finally, under resources, the goal was to reduce class size for at least one grade level, and that was done this year through the ARA job grant funding. We were able to do that with our 3rd grade class. Obviously, that is a goal for us for next year. In almost every conversation I have with Dr. Colley, as he's rolling his eyes at me, I talk about class sizes and really wanting to make a difference with that for next year. So that's a very brief overview of what we'll be looking at for our school improvement plans and our goals for next year.
Go ahead.
Through the chair, Mr. Wilkinson, 2 points. We had a little confusion last week on smart boards and these other. You're going with smart boards where the kids can manipulate the board with their fingers, correct?
Yes.
So you're going to have that package.
We already have 6,
Okay.
and we'll have an additional 6.
Okay, just want to get that straight.
Yes.
Now, responsive classroom, I don't believe we funded any part of that for next year. Is that going to mess up your goals?
It's going to reduce the amount of training that we're going to be able to provide because we don't have as much funding. There's a little bit of funding that we can set aside out of the district monies. There's some funding out of grants that we can use, but it's nowhere near what we had last year. So that's, instead of doing 25 people, it may be 10 people, that kind of a reduction.
The monies that, did I finish?
Okay, yeah.
Through the chair, that little bit of monies, would it be better if you continue to want to be doing this program to just train someone to be the trainer?
That's probably
Instead of training 15 people,
They
train
have
one.
to go through responsive classroom 2,
Right.
1 and 2, before they can do the training
Okay.
the trainer. And there are
And that is-
staff members signed up that have done
So that's
responsive
part of
classroom 1.
why I'm saying it's not going to be as many people, but yes, it's going to be more targeted. You got it.
And then sharing the information at faculty meetings and in staff notices and that kind of information.
Mike?
I'm also a little confused on the responsive classroom, in that we did make some adjustments to the budget when it came to responsive classroom, but is it also not part of the policy directive in terms of responsive classroom as a professional development, or is that not within our purview? I thought I was under the impression we were discontinuing the responsive classroom training, so that's why I'm asking.
Nope. Part of what the goal, and I'm going back to the district goal, is to establish programs in the schools that deal with things like, are the kids respectful? What is the culture between the adults and the kids? What is the behavior of the kids versus, not having a program at all? That continues. It's just, if you don't put funding towards it, the amount of training or the implementation that you can provide